Good afternoon. Hello. How is everybody? You're doing well? Happy Friday. Nearly the weekend, which is good. Just checking everything's working okay. Good. I've got my microphone turned up nice and loud. Excellent. Good stuff. So it's going to be a busy hour. I'm going to get started straight away. So today, I'm going to be looking at a part of the test that causes quite a lot of anxiety for students, I have to say. You ready? Be brave. We can do it. We are going to be looking at the reading. Oh, yes. Who doesn't love a good IELTS academic reading? It's fun. So I'm going to get started straight away on this. Right. So we're going to be looking in the next 4 sessions, including this one, at reading skills. A question that I get asked a lot is how can I improve my reading score? And I do understand it's a challenge. There are things that sometimes feel inaccessible in the reading paper, but they're not. Remember, exams are designed to be passed. Okay, so the reading is no different. I promise. Trust me. So we're going to do 2 things in this lesson. The first is we're going to have an overview of the format of the reading test. So we're going to look at how it's organized, because I think, like any exam, the way that you know how it's set out, and also we're going to look at what the examiners are testing in particular parts as well. I think that's really important in terms of your confidence and also in terms of your performance as well. So we're going to be looking at that. There are, as we will find out in one moment, there's a lot of different task types in the IELTS exam. We're going to focus on one question type today. There are so many, and I think this is part of the issue as well with the IELTS exam. There's so many different types of questions that you possibly could be asked, and that's don't speak like that. Unpredictability. That unpredictability is something which doesn't really help your confidence, or actually the way that you approach the exam. So we're going to look at one which pretty much, can I say 100%? I'm going to. Pretty much 100% will come up, I am sure, in your reading exam. And this is focusing on true, false, and not given. Yeah, something I'm sure that you have seen before. So we're going to do some work together today at what the point of this question is. Again, I'm all about getting you to think as if you were an examiner, okay? So thinking, what's being tested here? How can I do this? How should I approach this question? And what do I need to do? Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to really focus on this and hopefully, making it a lot more straightforward for you as well, because they're not the easiest of questions. That's good. I'm just going to have a quick check to see who's here. Oh, hello. Hi, Walia. Hi, Sharaful, and hi, Gulam. Very nice to see you all. Good. Right. So let's get going. Deep breath. We can do this. We can get through this IELTS reading. Please remember, I know I sound a bit optimistic when I say this, but exams are designed to be passed, you know? The IELTS is a very accurate measure of your English, but, you know, it is a business. They need people to do well in it, okay? So it's difficult, but it's not impossible. So let's stay calm and think about something big broken down into smaller pieces. Let's look at the breakdown of the test. So I do this because some of you will, really be very, very familiar with how the test is organized, and some of you might not be. So let's have a look together. So it is 60 minutes in length. And if you've looked at an IELTS reading paper, that's not a lot of time for the amount of text that you have to work with. Within those 60 minutes, you have 40 questions, and they are designed to test a really wide range of reading skills. These include reading for gist, which is like general understanding, reading for main ideas, detail, skimming, which is when you just have to read something at surface level, when you have to read something very quickly and not look for detail, but get an understanding overall of what it's about. Understanding a logical argument. We all like logical arguments. Recognizing writers' opinions, attitudes, and purpose. Why is this person writing this? What do they feel? And so on. See, so far, not too scary. Haha. So this is the format here. Okay, so you get 3 reading passages. Now, my maths is not brilliant, but you have 60 minutes, you have 3 parts. So basically, it's about 20 minutes on each question. 40 questions as well. Now, that might not be equally divided between the 3 sections. Okay, so you might have slightly more questions in part 1 or part 2 or part 3. So they're normally quite even, but if you're being very exact, don't be disappointed if there's like 2 more questions in one part than the other. That's completely normal. Okay, deep breath. So these are the type of question types that are used. Not all of them. Okay, so not all of these are going to be used in a reading exam because it would be impossible. Multiple choice, identifying information, what we're looking at today, identifying the writer's views or claims, matching information, matching headings, matching features, sentence endings, sentence completion, summary completion, note completion, table completion, flowchart completion, diagram label completion, and short answer questions. Now, you're not going to have to answer all of these, but to be as prepared as you can, you should be familiar with all of them because, you could be asked, you will be asked a combination of these. So you need to make sure that you know how to approach each of these. And as I said before, the one that we're looking at today, I've never known an IELTS exam to not feature this particular question type. So there we go. So where do they come from? Where do they find these IELTS readings? Well, they're normally authentic sources. For the academic paper, they're normally books, magazines, journals, newspapers, and they are written for what we call a non-specialist audience. So they are written for people outside of the specific area to hopefully understand. They deal with general interest. They deal with issues that are interesting. But that's IELTS's opinion. They are very much designed to test people like yourselves who want to enter undergraduate or postgraduate courses, or seeking professional registration. So this is the purpose, if you like, is to test people in an academic way, because it's for the academic exam. Passages written in a whole range of styles: narrative, descriptive, or discursive, which means argumentative. At least one text contains a very detailed logical argument. They also as well contain, not always, but they can contain diagrams, graphs, and illustrations. If there's, we'll get to unknown words in a second, but if there's a very technical term that there's just no chance you will have heard of before, a glossary, an explanation is given, which is kind. This is really, really important. I should make this really, really bold. In the hour, you have to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. You do not get extra time for this, okay? And so many students, there's just so much going on, they forget, which is understandable, doing so much, but you don't get extra time in the reading to transfer your answers. Okay, so you need to do everything. When that 60 minutes is up, when that hour is up, it's done. You can't do any more. Okay, so be very mindful that you need to get everything done. Obviously, take care when writing the answers, as spelling that's wrong, grammar that's wrong, they are penalized. Okay, so you need to make sure, like everything, that your spelling and your grammar is perfect. And each question is worth 1 mark. Okay, so there's no more difficult question is worth 2 or worth half a mark. They're all worth 1. So that's quite straightforward, isn't it? Kind of. Okay, so well, I'm just going to check here. Just check the chat. We're all okay. Very good. Hello, Shamim. Hello. Okay, so identifying information. Cool. So you'll be given a number of statements and you'll be asked, do the following statements agree with the information in the text? Then you need to write true, false, or not given in the boxes in your answer sheet, which you have to complete within the 60 minutes. It is important to understand the difference between false and not given. I think true and false is quite a, it's quite a basic concept. I think we're all happy with that. The slightly more complex decision making is if deciding if something is false or not given. So this is really important here. False means that the passage states the opposite of the statement in question. Okay, so they've said something, you find something in the text which is opposite of what is written. We'll look at some examples later, but you keep the word opposite in your head. Okay, it doesn't agree with the statement that's been given. And not given means that the statement is not confirmed nor contradicted. So false is an absolute contradiction of the statement. But with not given, it's not contradicted by the information in the passive. Okay, so it's not disagreeing, it's not the opposite. This is important as well because students need to understand that any knowledge they bring with them from outside the passage shouldn't play a part when deciding your answers. This has happened to students of mine before. In a way, they've been really lucky. They've been like a civil engineer and then the passage is about bridge construction. Brilliant. They're thinking, oh, great, this is going to be great. But it's not testing your knowledge. It's asking you to analyze and work with the information in the reading. And mistakes can happen because you can read something and think, yeah, it's true. I know this because this is my job. It's your job. Brilliant. But you're not being tested on your knowledge of the subject. You're being tested to find and identify the information in the specific passage. All right. So if you are, in a way, you would be really lucky if it came up that you know a lot about a subject that you're reading about. But remember, it's not your knowledge, it's what's written down, black and white, in that passage itself. So the task focus, what the examiners are examining, is identifying information which assesses the test taker, that's you, your ability to recognize particular points of information conveyed in the text. So it's basically can thus be used with more factual texts. So can you recognize if information is the same or it's different? Okay. Number of questions is variable. To be honest, I would expect more than one true, false, not given set of questions to come up in a reading exam, because they're really challenging, because they're hard, and I know that they're hard, but they are such a good way of examining your reading skills. This is what you're going to be doing when you are studying. You get questions from your tutor, or you're doing research and you're reading through a lot of information, much longer than the passages that you'll get in the IELTS exam. And it's what you need to do. You need to find out what your idea is. Is it backed up by what you're reading? Is it opposite, or is it not there? So I completely sympathize, really, that, this is not an easy task. But there's a very good reason that it is included in the IELTS academic paper. It's because it's the best way of finding out if you're, how good you are going to be at, if you can cope with the amount of information. Great. Okay. So, some tips. We like tips. You need to identify specific information in the passage. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to isolate, you need to find specific information. All right. Scanning. What's scanning? Scanning is when you have a lot of information, zoom, 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 and you find a particular word or phrase or expression. We'll get to some more detail about the words that you're looking for later on, but scanning is basically, can you read a lot of information and isolate a particular point, phrase, sentence, word that you need to find the answer. It's a skill. It's a useful skill as well. Okay. I'm going to be repeating myself a bit here, but it's really important. You need to make sure that you understand the meaning of each answer. You can't work out if something is true or false or not given unless you completely understand what it's saying. Okay, so you need to completely make sure that you spend time analyzing the sentence that you have to true, false, or not given with. Just to make it really clear, I've underlined it this time, so it must be serious. Yes or true is the same information is found in the passage. No or false, the opposite information is found in the passage. Not given means the information is not found there. Okay? Yes is the same. No or false is the opposite information. It's mentioned, but it's the opposite. Not given is the information isn't there. Okay. So, really good thing to do, and this is a useful word for your writing as well. Paraphrase the statements. It's a nice even word, paraphrase. So to paraphrase means you look at something, you understand it, and then you put it into your own words. The meaning is the same, but the words that you're using are different. Okay? So, to paraphrase the word good, the word good could be excellent, super, wonderful, fabulous. The meaning is the same, it's highly positive, it's just that the wording is different. So, when you're looking at the options, it takes practice, but you can do it. When you're looking at the options, just think, okay, how is this going to be expressed in the text? Maybe. Okay, so we'll look at the words in a second, but don't expect identical words from the answer to be found in the text. Okay. One good thing, which is always helpful, we like good, easy things, especially in the IELTS reading. The answers always come in the order of the text, which, you know, makes life slightly easier. So the answers will be in the same sequence as they will be found in the text. So you don't kind of have to jump around and move around, okay? That's good. So yes, so they will always be in the same order as they appear in the text. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do actually, before I move on to this slide, I'm going to escape it. I'm going to escape it now. 1 second. Is yes, Esan, you do. Is the picture clear now? Okay, is the picture clear now, Surrender? Let's have a look. Okay, you can let me know if it's clear now. Yes, you do. Do you have fixed spaces? Yes, so the answer sheet is always the same. So you do have fixed space to complete it. I would say as well, for the listening and for the reading as well, I think it's a good idea to write in capital letters. I think it's a good idea to do that because it tends to make your writing slightly clearer. So yes, you do get the answer sheet is always the same for writing in. So you're given very clear space to do it. Okay, so I just want to show you something here. 1 second. I just want to show you a sample. Okay. Let's make this nice and big here. Okay. Now this one. 1 second. So this here, you can see that okay? Yeah, fantastic. This is a sample from IELTS. Always good to go straight from IELTS itself. Of identifying information, true, false, not given. Now this is much shorter, okay? This is much shorter than the text that you'll get in the exam. But can you see, this is what the question form is going to look like. do the following statements agree with the information given in reading passage 1? So I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm not going to apologize for that. This is not the same length. Okay, this is not the same length. This is just a little taster from Ielts of what the texts could be like. This is about a famous scientist. You can see it's an authentic text. It comes from an encyclopedia called Encyclopedia Britannica. And then the questions have this before. So you can see boxes 1 to 3, true, false, and not given. So number 1, Marie Curie's husband was a joint winner of both Marie's Nobel Prizes. So what you'd need to do here is you'd need to go back and you'd need to identify the information here. Okay, so this is just a little snip of what you might get asked to look at. As I said before, good, well, yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm going to look at some questions here. For skimming, it's the best way of practicing is just doing it. It's like running. It's like running, basically. It's basically the more that you do it, the faster you become at it. With IELTS reading, in fact, with any kind of exam reading, of course, practice tests, they help. If you have a book, an IELTS book, if you're doing online exercises as well, that's fantastic, that's great. But honestly, read something in English every day. And actually, it doesn't really matter what you're reading. In fact, the more differing sources that you're reading, the better. So yeah, I mean, obviously, read something that you're interested in to start with, because that does help. So you could read about sport, you could read about health, about fitness. You could read about issues in your own country, or you can read about issues outside of your country. I would say as well, it's important to read things that you're not particularly interested in. I have read so many IELTS exams, and there's always just a subject in there that I have never encountered before. Okay, so test yourself. And when I say test yourself, I don't necessarily mean that you sit there and you actually write the answers to things, but read about business, or maybe you're interested in business. If you're interested in business, read about biology. I mean, everything is online now. You know, you look at the BBC News websites, yeah. Have a look at that. I think that's a great place to start, because you can actually go in and you can select. You can select, okay, about science, or I'm not particularly interested in science, so that's why I'm saying that, because that's something that I would be perhaps not so familiar with. Or you can read about history. You can read about world news. So whilst it is important that that you are that you're just reading anything, and just make time in your day to do that, I think it's a really good way to speed up your skimming, is just reading things that are familiar and unfamiliar with you. Okay, I mean, everything's online. It's amazing. You've got everything at your fingertips. And when I'm reading resources from IELTS itself, the teaching advice from them is, yes, do stuff like we're doing now, go through techniques and what to do and how to best look at the questions and how to find the answers. Of course, that's important. But alongside that, you just need to read. That's what you need to do. Read something you're comfortable with, and read something you're uncomfortable with as well. I would say, just do that every day, even if you're just doing it for 15 minutes. If you do it for 15 minutes every day, then 7 times 50, it adds up. and just make it part of your routine as well. So I just think, yeah, just the more little things make a big difference. Absolutely. Good stuff. Keep the questions coming, guys, because they're really helpful for me as well. I like answering questions too. It's good. All right, so we're going back in. You ready? We're going to look at some exam skills now. Yes, good stuff. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint. I think hopefully it'll be in the same place. Sometimes it jumps around. Let's have a go. Yes. Okay, I'm going to make it big. There we go. Okay. No. Go back to the start. Okay, it's always good to have a revision. All right, this is helpful. How to answer them. So, how to answer true, false, not given questions. Okay. Firstly, you'll be presented with a list of facts. Remember, it could be a smaller number or a larger number. And then you will look at the text in order, okay, in sequence, to decide if they are true, false, or not given. So if the fact you're given is clearly in the reading, it's true. The word opposite, again, what you've been given is false. If it's not true or false, it's not given. When we're reading it like this, yeah, I know it looks really obvious. And you're like, oh, yes, all right, Laura. If it's there, it's true. If it's the opposite, it's false. And if it's not there, it's not given. But trust me, when you get to actually doing the exercises, you're like, ah, I see what you mean. Okay, so strategies. So it's good to have a plan. Questions are the same order of the text. Very good. Right. Read the question carefully. Now, sometimes students get so, I would say, excited. I don't know. They get so excited or stressed. They're both similar parts of the brain. They're like, wow, oh, look, this test, the text is massive. And they're like, right, I'm going to get started straight away. I'm going to read the whole thing and I'm going to find the answer. This is not a good strategy. You won't need all of the text, but you will need all of the questions. Okay, so you're not wasting time by analyzing and understanding the questions. You are wasting time if you just go, and then you start just reading everything with no logic, no order, and no purpose. You are not going to be focused and you're not going to be performing as well if you don't understand what you're being asked to do. If you don't understand a question, how can you give an answer? That's true in real life. Outside of IELTS, that's true. If you don't know what you're being asked to do, how can you do it? So just read and understand the question. Use your time smartly. Yeah, when you've understood it, you're like, right, okay, understand the language, know what the important points are, then you can go about finding it. But if you don't know what you're looking for, how can you find it? So scan the text. Okay. So again, like we were saying before, go back and look. The more speed reading you do, the more you are able to identify things quickly. So what you need to do here, when I first started teaching, to teach scanning skills, we used to give students like telephone books and say, okay, find the telephone number for this clothes shop, and they go down, and it kind of is quite strange, but actually it worked really well. It's all to do with moving fast and ignoring the information that you don't need and finding the information you do need. So yeah, scanning is basically reading something quickly to look for something that you do need and not worrying about what you don't need as well. Okay. So you've scanned, you've gone through, You think, okay, this phrase is going to give me the information for this answer. Excellent. Result. Okay, so you found it. It matches it. And then read it very carefully. Is it true, false, or not given? Now, the questions, and the questions we're going to look at later, will probably use synonyms. It's a great word. Use synonyms rather than the words in the text. So this is kind of a double test, isn't it? It's testing your reading. You know, can you go through and identify it? But it's also testing your vocabulary as well, because the words are not going to be the same. If the word good, to go back to my previous example, if the word good is used in the questions, it's not going to be the same in the text. Probably not. It's going to be excellent or super or other examples, okay? So really important. Yes, analyze the questions, but don't expect to find the exact same words in the text. In fact, go into it thinking that you're not going to, but look for similar words with the same or very nearly the same meanings, okay? Now, the next point is very important. Look out for controlling words. Only, all, or never. For example, if the fact in the question says some, and if you see one of these controlling words, they're often to do with frequency, like never or often or always, only or all, then you've got to make sure that the text matches this exactly. So the example here, if the fact in the question says some, and then you look through the text and you identify where the answer is, and it says all, then it's false. They use these a lot, actually. They're not very nice. So if only, all, never, sometimes, make sure that it matches, because you often find that it doesn't. Okay. Time is not your friend in the IELTS exam. You've got 60 minutes. Don't spend a long time looking for the answer to one question. To be honest, if it's probably not given. If you can't find it, it's probably because the answer's not given. I mean, that's not always completely true. You might not spot it, but I think you need to just get over it in an exam like this, okay? Because your ability to move through a large amount of questions and material is what's being tested here. If you can't find the answer, spending 5 minutes looking for the answer is probably not going to really help the situation that much. So it is probably not given if you can't find it, okay? If it's, it's not there, you can't find it. This is a good point as well. Make sure that you use the correct code. So we're using true, false, or not given, but it can be yes, no, or no information. They use that sometimes as well, just to make things even more complicated. These questions are slightly different, and you look for opinions rather than facts, okay? It's the same idea. It's just rather than true, false, or not given, you're saying yes, no, or there's no information about it. But the same strategies apply, but do just be careful that you know what to write. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do now. Yeah, I think if it's exactly, I think maybe it might be a connection issue. it could be a connection issue. If the video is blurry for one of you and not for others, that's often the case. So sometimes when that happens to me, what I do is I actually shut down everything else. So I shut down, I don't know, WhatsApp or any other windows that are open, and that sometimes helps with the clarity of things too. So if you shut down all the other applications, hopefully this will be a little bit clearer. Okay. Do you have to, very good question, Fatima. Yes, you do have to write. So you have to stretch yourself, and you have to write true, false, or not given. Yes, or yes, no, and or no information. But I would always say, okay, I'm saying this now, but it's up to IELTS. Could change their mind, or they could say TFNG. They might do that because they kind of push you with the questions as well. So they want you to work hard, basically. So always read the questions, because the best thing as a teacher that we can tell our students is we think this will happen, but there's a chance it might not happen. You know, they set the exams, so they could change the coding. So I know I keep talking about it, and I'm not going to apologize for it, because you need to really, really focus on the information in the questions. So they will tell you, okay? So they might say write TF or NG, or true, false, not given, but just give yourself enough time. You know, get I don't know, I'm showing you a pen. You know what a pen is, but get a pencil and actually underline what you need to do. Yeah, I think it's the more familiar you are with the questions, the better chance you have of actually finding the answers. Okay. All righty. So let's have a look. Let's try and do a true, false, not given, shall we? Let's go wild. Let's try and do one now. Okay. So I'm gonna. Okay. I'm going to share a lovely document with you. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Lovely. Let's do the full screen here. Should be nice and clear, hopefully. Cool. All right. So let's make that a bit bigger for you. Wow, it's like going to the opticians. It's really big now. Okay. All right, so we are going to look at a short reading. Again, I'm not going to give you a full IELTS length reading. That would not really be very helpful. Let's have a look at this sentence. Let's look at this statement. And it's the first sentence, actually, of the reading we're going to look at. I like colours, by the way, so we often use colours. Chilies originate in South America and have been eaten for at least 9,500 years. Marvelous. Great stuff. So here are some example IELTS true, false, not given statements. And here, to be really, really helpful, we're being very generous, giving you the answers. It's very nice, isn't it? So with any learning activity, this isn't the real exam now, is it? So what we need to do is think why. Yeah? Why is this true? Why is this false? And why is it not given? So the route to finding the answer is what we're interested in today and leading up to your exam. The answers are obviously going to be important in the exam itself, but the way that you reach those answers is what we need to be thinking about. So not question number one, statements number one. Chilies come, let's do it backwards actually. Chilies come from South America. This is true. Now, can you see here? These colours, I go a bit wild with them. Make it blue. Come from is a synonym of originate. Okay, so as I said before, I don't want to make this easy for you. Look for words which have a similar meaning. So it's true, brilliant, fantastic. Next one, is false. People began eating chilies in the last few centuries. Okay, so here, do they mention when people started eating chilies? They do. Is it the last few centuries? No, much, much longer. 9,500 years. So the information contradicts each other. So it's false. Okay, and this is the one, to be honest with you, they're not given are the ones that cause the most, not stress, but they're not the easiest, are they? South Americans. Okay. South Americans were the first people to start eating chilies. Now, this is tricky, isn't it? Because here it says chilies originate in South America. So logically, you'd think, well, of course they were. That's where they came from. But it doesn't say that. We're guessing. Well, to be academic, we're making a deduction, aren't we? So we're letting our mind suppose things, but we have to control that because it doesn't say it here. You know, it's not written down. If it's not written down, it's not given. Okay. So they're trying to be they're trying to guide you to think, oh, well, yes, it's true. They originate there. That's where they come from. Maybe it is true, but it's not written down. Unless it's there, we don't know. Okay. All right. So we're going to work through together here. So it's a class activity. So we're going to have 5 questions here. Okay. See the colors. I love them. Do you know, actually, I find this quite an interesting reading as IELTS readings go. Just as a point as well, can you see this is about 325 words? It's quite interesting for you to see actually what 325 words looks like, because in the writing you're asked to write like the minimum of 250. Say to students, 300 is fine. I wouldn't write more than this though. If you write more than this, it doesn't look like you've really planned your writing brilliantly. But yeah, it's just we put the word count here because it's interesting for you to see what that number of words looks like when it's typed. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make this make that slightly bigger actually. Slightly smaller because I want to connect these here. Okay. So when you're rewatching this, you can obviously go through it in your own time. You can pause and make notes and so on. But I am just going to go through with you now how we arrive at the answers. Okay. So it's a scientific word. Number 1 in the questions at the bottom here. Capsaicin causes significant damage to the mouth. Interesting use. Significant. It's quite a big adjective. Significant damage. Does it mean a little or a lot? Yeah. It means a lot. I heard you. So significant damage to the mouth. Okay. Now remember, it's in sequence. So don't start at the bottom. Start at the top. Yeah, very good. Very good. Right. Nothing to do with damage to the mouth here. No. Right. Next paragraph. Aha. Now I can see capsaicin is first mentioned here, mentioned twice. Let's go some color coordination. Causes temporary irritation to the trigeminal cells, which are the pain receptors in the mouth, nose, and throat. It doesn't sound very pleasant. You know, I really like spicy food. In the UK, we eat a lot of curry. It's one of our national dishes. It's pretty cold here at the moment. Spicy food, hot food, it makes me happy. So, yes, but I have to say, having temporary irritation to the trigeminal cells, which are pain receptors in the mouth, nose, and throat, I don't think that's going to make me particularly happy. But we've got to look really, really carefully. Remember, we were talking about controlling words before. Significant is a controlling word because it's giving us quite a lot of information about something. It's telling us the extent, the amount of something. Is it significant damage? No. Temporary irritation. It's not pleasant. It's like when you sneeze. It's like, oh, done. It might be slightly longer than that if you've eaten a really painful, but it doesn't cause significant damage to the mouth. It just hurts a little bit. So what's this? Is it a true? Is it false? Or is it not given? Exactly. False. We're given the information, but it's the opposite. It's not exactly the same as the question. Okay, doing good. So I'm really keen for you to look for what we call keywords here. Okay, so keywords are important. So I've highlighted these one here. Chilies is obviously important because that's the whole subject of the reading. Became popular as soon as another controlling word. They were brought into Europe. Right, so if you're super clever and organized in the exam, which of course you will be, okay, as soon as. What sort of means the same as soon as? What's a similar thing? So, okay, right. Think of some words which mean as soon as. I mean, as soon as is pretty quick. I'm trying to think of words which match as soon as, which aren't giving away the answer here. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Brought into Europe. Okay. So, introduction to Europe, an immediate sensation. Immediate sensation, something is immediate. Means as soon as. Okay. Now, that's repeated itself there. 1 second. Delete that one there. Okay. Chilies can. So let's think about the meaning of the word can. Means possible. Yeah, it's possible. Chilies can be part of a bird's diet. Okay, right. So moving through. So birds. Third paragraph. Okay. The reason for the presence is thought to be deter animals from eating the fruit. Only mammals feel the burning effects. We're mammals, that's why it hurts our nose and throat. Birds feel nothing. So, is it true? Is it false? Or is it not given? Very good. You're very fast today. It's true. Yes. I eat them. Exactly. Okay. All right. So Number 4. Let's move this down a little bit here. Number 4. All. Controlling word. All large chilies grow high off the ground. Adjective large. Well, I can see something relating to size here. Smaller. Okay. The smaller chilies tend to be the hottest. This may reflect the fact that they tend to grow closer to the ground. Cool. So it's good. It's talking about size. It's talking about smaller chilies. Very good. So they're very hot because they grow closer to the ground. All right. So maybe we're thinking, well, obviously, if the smaller ones are near the ground, then the large ones are going to be high off the ground because you've got to have something to compare it with. But is it written in the text that this happens? Nope. It's not there. In real life, is this the situation? Maybe. We don't know. Possibly. But even though it is perhaps in a way suggested, it's not written there. Okay? And if it's not there, it's not given. Okay? So just remember to keep thinking. Can I see this answer? Can I find this information? And if you can't find it, you can't find it. It's not given. Okay. Doing well. Number 5, last one. People breed chilies for their heat. Okay. So, can we find anything here? The heat of a chili is measured on the Scoville scale. The hottest types. So there's a lot of information, a lot of numbers here. The heat of a chili is measured. The hottest types. Tabasco sauce, Thai pre-cunu, powdered chili is 500. Great. So it's all talking about different breeds, different types. But does it say why? So if we have a question, any question actually, why you're saying 4 is providing an explanation to something. Why do you do this? For fun. Why do you do this? For work. Okay. So does it actually say why people breed chilies? No, it doesn't. It says that people do breed lots of different types of chilies, and some of them are like really hot. I mean, wow. But it doesn't say the motivation for it. Okay, so it's not given. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe people grow them because they really like the colors of them. I don't know. Chili plants are very beautiful, but we can't assume. We can't guess. Unless it's there, we can't say if it's true or false. So it has to be a not given. Okay? All right. Good stuff. So keep thinking. Okay? Practice. Skimming and scamming can really, really benefit, as I said before, by doing practical things like reading. Doing practice activities is great. Really, it does really help. But the more you read, the better your reading will be. There's no like magic wand that I can't sort of suddenly produce something for you. It's just sticking at it. Yeah. And the more that you do, the better your reading will become, the more familiar you will become with reading quickly. And also, as well, the more familiar you'll become with words that you haven't seen before, because that's a big part of the IELTS test. And that's something that we're going to be looking at in a future lesson. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your attention. And don't be stressed by the IELTS reading, okay? It's just working out what you need to do. It's just thinking, what is going to happen in the exam? What are they testing? What should I do to get the most from my exam? How can I show them how good I am? Okay, so have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Read everything in English. Make sure that you do dedicate some time to doing it. And don't worry. Exams are designed to be passed. Have a nice evening. Take care. Thank you for your time. Goodbye. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.